We are here because we are dedicated to helping the entire CrossFit community. Determined to elevate coaches, box owners, athletes, and everything in between, we believe that this mission will begin right here, right now. While this time and this goal begins with you, our hope is that you take this fire ignited within you and weave it into your own life with the same unrelenting passion to give those you have the privilege of coming in contact with the best hour of their day.
Welcome back to Best Hour of Their Day. Today's guest, Ryan Wheeler, is owner of Classified Fit and one of our first members of Affiliate University. So welcome, Ryan.
Thank you. I'm a little disappointed I wasn't the first. I know that was because I couldn't schedule it on the first day because I was too busy that day.
You were, I believe, the second person that signed up.
Yeah, because I think you had the bookings. It was like, there's Monday, and I was like, well, can't do that day. Tuesday, I was like, nope, but it's the first time available. I'm going to take it. You were,
but let me say this. You were the fastest person to speak to me and then sign up. So I remember specifically when you and I spoke, and the reason I remembered it was a Tuesday because I got my hair cut, and and that's how seldom I get my hair cut. But my hair was long from quarantine, and I was like looking for a place to go, so we moved. And I remember you and I spoke, and as soon as we got off our call, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. Like I didn't have an appointment. You just it's a barber shop where you show up. But on my drive to the barbershop, I saw that you signed up. So,
yep.
And the barbershop's less than 10 minutes away. So between shutting my computer down, getting in the car, driving, you joined. So tell me about this. What, other than the fact that I was just so convincing on our phone call, and to be clear, you and I knew each other a little bit through the coaches development course. So you had kind of been working with me and taking the course, which you're still in the coaches development group. But what were some of the things that initially drew you to just setting up that call? Let me ask you that first. What prompted you? Because let's be clear to the listeners, you were already running a very successful box in Classified Fit in Yuba City, California. You were running a successful box, plenty of members, paying yourself, taking time off, all that good stuff that we encourage people to do, you were doing already. So what then made you say, hey, I'm doing a good job, but I want more?
So I think the big picture for this one is I've been listening to you guys since you started your podcast. And I don't know, I can't even remember how I came across it all that 2 years ago, whatever it was.
You don't remember how you found the podcast?
I don't remember. It was early on too, because I've listened to every episode since. And
since or ever? Did you go back and listen in the archives to all of the episodes?
Yeah, I've listened to all of them. The starting with number one, the introduction of yourself. I was like, oh, this is kind of a gimmick, but
a gimmick, really?
Yeah, because you guys are just introducing yourself, but it was more of like, oh, this is why you should listen to our podcast. This is what we're going to talk about. And you have definitely over-delivered on information.
Well, thank you.
So the knowing what you guys had talked about and discussed kind of led me to the, signing up for your coaches development program and kind of recognizing that you two have a very similar like-minded business ideas and concepts than I have myself. So that's something I've really tried to create or have is, surround myself with people who are going to help me be better towards things that I want to strive for. So kind of just being able to listen to those podcasts, listen to ideas of like, hey, this is where you should be focusing. It was in line with where I wanted to focus. And that allowed me to really kind of make that ultimate decision. Like, no, this is going to be the best kind of coaching experience I can move forward with.
I love it. I love the fact that, we set out to do that. When Fern and I initially started Best Hour, we've talked about this. It was literally just to put it out there. We didn't dream of having affiliate university or coaches development. It was just, I think, something we encourage many people to do, whether it's a podcast or a business, like hit record. I was thinking about it last night. I don't know why. In the middle of the night, I was like trying to figure out when I started CrossFit. And then I realized from the day I started CrossFit, I opened my affiliate within like 3 months. And this was before it was like CrossFit was a real deal. It was more like no one knows about it. It's underground. And I think that's always been my motto, where it's just like jump in, and done is better than perfect. So I'm glad to hear that. Now, what were your expectations when you set up the call? Were you thinking, this is just cool, I'm going to get some coaching, or was it, this is really going to help me level up?
Yeah, so I had done a couple of coaching, affiliate coaching stuff before with other programs, and something that I really liked with what you guys were kind of, I don't know, leading towards, or kind of, as without putting the information out, like, hey, here's how we're going to fix things, is a really emphasis on developing the coaches, as well as an emphasis on getting your members to be longer members, as opposed to pushing for a ton of new members. So I think that is a big thing. A lot of the other kind of markets do is like, hey, we need to get more members in your gym. Whereas with you guys, it was not a necessity of pushing for more members. It was a push for more retention of members. And that was kind of a big deal for me, because I was like, I like my current members. I'm not in a place where I can grow astronomically. So it's not ideal for me to bring on a ton of new members.
Yeah, I think that's, people often ask us, hey, like, what separates Affiliate U? What's different about this? And one of the first things we tell them is, well, one, we offer coaches development, which most coaching doesn't include. Most of these CrossFit affiliate coaches are, like you said, hey, we need to get you more members, and they don't pay any attention to the current membership base, which is actually what's paying your bills. And secondly, in addition to coaches development, and I hope you feel this way as well, I wouldn't say it's kind of our slogan or anything, but I want the box to be fun again, making affiliates fun again, if you will, because I don't know if you felt this way over the years. You open a box because you love fitness, you love coaching, you love CrossFit, and then at some point along the way, you burn out, and you burn out either because you're working too many hours, or your members are driving you crazy, or any number of reasons. But the point is, I want you to wake up reminiscent of why you started for you in 2017. I know you started, we just talked about it in our coaches development group, but for the same reasons in 2017 as you are in 2021, and looking forward to 2024.
Yeah, and especially thinking back over the last couple of months, and especially since we had the coronavirus, the community or our personal community has grown significantly closer. We're wrapping up a dodgeball league during the Open this week, and everyone keeps asking me. They're like, "Hey, are we doing?" Yeah, and they're great. They're like, "Are we doing dodgeball next month?" I'm like, "No, we're not. Not at the moment." Mostly because I don't have the bandwidth to do it every single day. But I have almost half my membership coming in on Friday nights just to play dodgeball. Or if they're not playing, they're just hanging out on the sidelines drinking beer, because that's what they want to do. So it's created a very fun, cheering atmosphere, almost like a sporting event that we're doing weekly.
Do you allow headhunting in dodgeball?
No, there's no headhunting.
I think I loved dodgeball at the affiliates. We used to play, when you sent it to me, we used to play all the time, and it just makes your members feel like kids again. It's a great community growth. So you get signed up. Talk to me about some of the major improvements you've had immediately. I mean, and for the record, Affiliate University lasts 6 months. The first 12 weeks, the first 3 months are devoted to business growth. We have 6 modules there where we go over everything from gaining clarity on what members you want with a brand heroes exercise and more, to how you're onboarding your members to what their first 180 days look like. And then ultimately we dive into coaches development and then streamline it to really work specifically for your needs. But actually, before you answer that question, give me some hard numbers. How many members are you up since starting?
So I believe I started around 105 and I'm about 140-ish right now. So
You've gained 35 members?
Yeah, since we signed up, yeah.
That's incredible. Now, for those listening, if you're an affiliate owner or coach that's about to share this, I don't want to say that we guarantee that. We certainly don't guarantee it. Results may vary, like any good infomercial. But I will say a lot of that is because you put in the work. I mean, affiliate university is not just like, hey, one trick and all of a sudden I have 35 new members. How much time are you spending daily, or at least were you?
So before, I was maybe spending hour, 2 hours working on just trying to developing little things, but most of my energy at that time was going to coaching and classes. Fortunately, since then, I've hired a new coach to help with that load a little bit. So what's really helped with your guys' particular program is it's helped me redefine the processes significantly easier. Before, and kind of taking a step back, even talk about the modules. The clarity thing was like super clear for me. I've done that process before multiple times with other programs, and it's like, nope, for whatever reason, yours just clicked. The wording with it was better. It's kind of like when you're coaching, you're given a cue, and you keep giving a cue, and you keep giving a cue, and nothing fixes. But then the right coach comes along, or maybe it's not a coach, maybe it's another member that comes along, and they're like, hey, why don't you try this? I'm like, thank you. I've said that a billion times, but it just kind of clicks. And I even think I said the brand hero thing, that really helped me define the clarity for you guys. The way it was just written, it was like, oh, these are the people I need to have in my facility. And so because I knew what those people were, I was able to kind of focus my efforts into that growth of those basically 35 people I've obtained.
Yeah, and I think the brand heroes is one of the best drills we do. It's early on, and for those listening, it's this idea of, talking to 4 of your best members, and not best members based on performance, based on, consistency, based on how long they've been there, based on the fact that, you put out a new t-shirt, they buy it, you have an event they show up for, basically the people you want more of at your box. And when you talk to them, you start to hear very similar sentiments, and here's why I'm at Classified Fit, here's why I'm at Classified, and you start to realize, okay, these are the reasons they're staying, the reasons they're joining. How do I get more of those people? Because it's not the people that are asking for discounts, it's not the people that are complaining during workouts, it's your very best members. So that's always a great drill for any box should be doing it, but especially when then we look at it, we assess it, and kind of help you push all your marketing towards how do I get more of these types of people.
Yeah, and that's really what helped me kind of just narrow it down. Be like, hey, this is where I need to focus. And it's not like I did any Facebook ads or anything to go find these people. It was just knowing who I wanted to have in here, and kind of getting members. So specifically the Bring a Friend Week was a huge boost for us. But because we were creating an experience for our members that was so amazing, they could not stop talking about it, and it just slowly kind of dropped people into the process.
Yeah, so let's dig into that. You had ran as probably the most successful Bring a Friend Week out of everybody thus far, and I think this is where a lot of boxes go wrong. They're like, hey guys, by the way, either A, bring a friend anytime, any day, any class, and your coaches aren't prepared for it. The programming is not made specific for newer people. And it's just kind of out there. It's one of those things where, oh, I can do this anytime. I'll do it next week. I'll do it next month. But with our Bring a Friend, we make it very specific. Here's the week. We encourage the box owner and the coaching staff to adjust the programming, not make it watered down CrossFit, but just make it, maybe we don't do snatches and muscle ups that week. Maybe we keep it a little more simple, kettlebell swings, box jumps, burpees, etc. But your current membership base probably doesn't realize it. And then we also put that time frame on there saying, hey, it's this week. We talk about it. We give out referrals, to both the referee and the referrer, if you will. So when you did your Bring a Friend week, how many new people did you have come in?
So I think I ended up having, I think it was 35 people that made it into that week.
35 people that had never been in your doors before.
Yep. 35 brand new people.
And of those 35, how many joined?
I had 10 join. I still a couple others that I'm working with, but for me, it's not about pushing them. I'll be here when they're ready. And I think that's a lot of things. A lot of times we get rushed into thinking we need to hurry to get people in the door when you can't force in a relationship, if that makes sense. It doesn't, that'll end up badly for everybody.
Well, one of the things both Fern and I like to say is, a no isn't a no forever. And I think you're one of those boxes that you had people join right away that week, and then you continue to reach out just slowly over the last month or two, and you see that they trickle in. Not everyone's ready to join the day they show up at your box, and that's a mistake a lot of box owners make, is applying too much pressure there, where it's like, hey, you got the address, you've been in the doors, we've met, we'll still be here when you're ready. And because you didn't put that pressure on them, you saw a lot of them wind up continue to come in weeks later.
Yeah, because I had one person who was went on a 2-week vacation the second they came in. I was like, hey, as soon as you come back from your vacation, let me know. Like, we'll come in, sit down, and we'll get you signed up. And they were just like, oh, that's all? I was like, yeah, it's simple as that. I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, this isn't a Globo gym where they're going to pay $19 and you don't want to see them again. They're going to pay a fair value, a fair price, but with that comes the expectation that, hey, you're going to show up. And speaking of prices, another thing you work through is a rate increase.
Yeah, so we've done the rate increase just before I signed up with Affiliate U, but we refined the process into being more transparent, I guess is the best way to place it, to get everyone to the same exact scenario. That way I don't have people all over the playing field with the weird options and stuff like that.
Yeah, you were already pretty dialed in when it came to that, but even the most dialed in box has a discount here, a discount there. Is it and was it nerve-wracking whenever you reach out to your members to say, hey, this is your rate, but by the way, effective this day, it's going to be, $165 or $175?
Yeah, I mean, every time you send that email, and I think a lot of it comes from, I see the people daily. I have a very close connection with them. So it's kind of awkward being like, hey, I need more money in order to go live my life. But at the end of the day, you do have to recognize, like, this is a business. And if this business is not here, then there's no place for you guys to be. And it's kind of like recently I was reading a story about something that has to shut down on the island of Hawaii. And they're going to lose like 270 jobs. It's like, yeah, that's what happens. It's the same thing. If our CrossFit gym shuts down, all those people have nowhere to go because there's not enough money coming in.
Yeah, I think that's really, something that's mind-blowing to me. Not only did Fern and I start this amidst the pandemic, but, all of the Affiliate U members were doing the same thing. And we had so many people. I mean, California was on some serious restrictions and continues to be to some extent, but we've had people sign up all over the world that are still locked down. And I think that's really no different for you, the people that we're coaching to find the brand heroes. We do a lot of the same things ourselves, and you are one of our brand heroes. Like, who do you want working with Affiliate U? Well, I want someone that realizes I need coaching and also realizes, there's no best time. Whether I'm shut down or whether I'm thriving, we all need coaching. And I think that's why it's kind of like an unfair sample size, right? Like if we have, 30 or 40 affiliates working with us, but they happen to be the hardest working affiliates. They happen to be, those that are willing to invest in their business, whether it's a growth period or they're shut down. So I think, have you learned, you've been open for coming up on 4 years now. Have you learned that as a box owner, you need coaching?
Yes, 100%. And, I related to, coaching in class is I want my athletes to have an experience that they are always going to come in, they're going to learn something new, they're going to have a great workout, and they're going to have a great time just in class. So those are my 3 boxes. They check that every time. So if I expect my members to pay for coaching, because that's what I'm delivering, then I need myself to go out and get a coach in order to continue to thrive and be better. It doesn't have to be a coach in the fitness industry, but there should be some sort of aspect where it's like, hey, what are you doing to better yourself? Because you can't, mirrors aren't always there to show you what you're doing wrong, especially if you're doing it correctly, or incorrectly for that matter. So we need to kind of seek out someone to evaluate how we're doing what we're doing and kind of uplift whatever that looks like, or modify it a little bit to make those tweaks to make it better.
Well, speaking of that, you happen to have a pretty solid crew at Classified Fit. I know you've hired someone new since our time together, but how much has working with Fern and myself and Affiliate University helped not only you as the leader of those people, but helped facilitate the growth of that coaching staff? Because I think that's where there's a tremendous disconnect amongst most box owners. Like maybe they're even getting coaching, whether it's leadership, whether it's, business coaching, etc., but it doesn't trickle down. And you've done a really nice job of letting it trickle down. And we forget, if someone's coaching CrossFit, they're really doing it because they're passionate about it. It's rarely for the $20 or $25 an hour they're making 2 hours a week. It's because I love this thing. I have a full-time job. I'm not ready to do my own thing yet, but I want to coach. But along with that comes the assumption that, hey, I also want to develop, and most box owners aren't doing that. So what has been some of the benefits with growth of your staff and the coaching staff?
Yeah, so I think a couple of things are we're definitely running a better overall class experience. So the idea that all the classes are very similar in structure with our coaches. Obviously each coach is going to have a different style of how they're going to deliver classes, but when classes, people show up, they expect class to run on time. They expect to understand what they're going to do for the workout. They expect to be taught how to do the movements at our facility, at least. Others might be doing differently, but our expectation is the same for everybody. So, we're running it like a major corporation would be like, hey, here are the procedures for opening this restaurant. This is all the boxes that need to be checked. Like if we're making a Big Mac at McDonald's, it's got to have, all these ingredients on it, and it's got to be every single time, every single location. And that's our, goal for each class of our coaches is to be able to create that same, we check those boxes every single time in order to have that same experience. And then all we do is change the workout and change the jokes to make it a more enjoyable day.
Did you say change the jokes?
Yeah, change the jokes. Can't use the same jokes every day.
Depends, because I can use the same joke if I'm rotating which classes I coach.
Yeah, well, you can use it for the day, or definitely if you're making fun of a member for a week because they did something funny early on, that's a good case.
Yes, well, it's always a good sign if you can goof on your members. That means they're good members. So it sounds a lot like Affiliate U has helped you really professionalize that aspect. You were already doing a pretty good job of it, but yeah, I think that's something, again, overlooked by a lot of affiliate owners is the reason McDonald's or Burger King or Pizza Hut is so successful is because people want to be able to show up, whether they're in, Yuba City or Colorado or Japan, and get a Big Mac. And I think we forget people want the same experience at a CrossFit affiliate. They might come to Ryan's class versus Jason's class versus Fern's class, and know that the jokes are going to be better in Ackerman's class than Fern's class, or those types of things. But at the same time, they want to know, man, class runs on time. This guy's going to tell us what our expectations are at the whiteboard before class. He's going to help me determine a great scaling option should I need it. I'm going to have an understanding of what the workout entails and some good strategy, all of those things. And I think for a lot of box owners, whether they just don't realize they're not doing it, they're too busy to do it, or they just don't think it's important, that gets overlooked. Then all of a sudden the box down the road, we talk about what separates you, and it's like, okay, coaching, community, programming, and that's not really the case. But that's what makes a box down the road. Hey, they're cheaper, they're this, and you don't realize it's because you're not giving the value needed for your membership, and also why so many people are afraid to increase their rates. If you're giving that value, you have no fear of increasing your rates because you're like, hey, I'm worth it.
Yeah, well, I wish I could increase my rates all the time, but that's not an ideal scenario. You have to be careful with it. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
You were at the
you say
top.
all the time. You say all the time, but it's like, no, there has to be. You have to deliver that next level of value, and you have to definitely check these boxes. So I think you guys have done a really good job of saying like, hey, you need to deliver in value areas before we consider making that next step. Or like, hey, these are the spots you need to improve on, and then we can make that next step. I think a couple of the boxes have been working with, they needed to increase it before they got to the next step. But like, hey, here's how you show that value, that you're over delivering and creating that great experience.
Yeah, it's just laughable to me that so many boxes are like, hey, what's your biggest strength, or what separates you, or what would you say to a member that is interested in joining, and they're like, community, and then they're afraid to increase their rates. And my attitude is, if your community was that strong, and look, we're not talking about a $15, $20, $30 increase. I'm talking $5, $10 a month, which, in fairness, $10 is $10. But my point is, if your community was that good, they wouldn't bat an eye at the fact that you're increasing them the price of a coffee.
Yeah. And I think, and this is something psychological for people, is we see those bigger increases, like the $5 increase or the $10 increase. You're like, what is this? But if you went and increased the price of a food by 5 cents, the same percent increase. If you went and increased a car by $1,000, it's the same percent increase. People don't really bat an eye as much at that. But for whatever reason, especially in the gym atmosphere, I think it's mostly because we have to deal with the global gyms where they're like, oh, hey, it's only $35 a month. But you're not getting anything for that. It's a perception that we have to change for the clients. And I think that takes a lot of effort and time as well.
Well, and I'll tell you what that really comes down to is affiliates showing the value. You've clearly demonstrated the value at your box. Because if somebody stops at Starbucks on a daily basis and tomorrow they go in and Starbucks raises the price as $1, A, they probably wouldn't notice. But B, if they did notice, they'd be like, oh, I guess they're charging me an extra $1. That's $30 a month, right? We're talking $5 here. But for so many affiliates, it's this fear of increasing. And what we tell them is, if you're afraid of that, you're not providing the value. Because every time I've increased my rates in the past, and Fern with his, I'm like, hell yeah, we're increasing because our coaches are getting better. We think of things like, well, I can only increase if I buy, and I mean, you just bought 8 new Rogue Echo bikes?
Yeah.
No big deal. But they're like, oh, well, how can I increase if I only, if I'm not demonstrating this value with equipment? Equipment's a very small part of it. It's really the development of your coaching staff, but also just the professionalizing of everything you're doing. And that's what you're doing there at Classified Fit. I mean, it's a legit experience every time someone walks in.
And yeah, part of the problem with buying equipment too is eventually you run out of space. It's it doesn't. Yeah. You're limited, so it's not.
Or you just don't need more, door. Right?
Right. That would be nice. I'd love to have that problem.
And I don't remember. Did you incorporate our equipment fee this year?
Yes, yeah, that was how we assisted with the bikes.
That's right. So, something that we taught that we help boxes implement is an equipment fee, which is just an annual fee, typically $50 per household, meaning if you have a family, they only pay it once. We do offer it potentially as optional the first year that you implement it, but that $50 fee, if you have 105 members like Ryan does, you have all of a sudden we have $5,000 or more to put towards equipment. But then here comes the big catch with that is, like Ryan, you actually have to do it. And we often say, hey, take a picture of the receipt, because I can promise you the 8 Echo bikes Ryan bought was more than the equipment fee.
Yes, it was significantly more. And funny story on that, especially since due to COVID, everything's been slowed and delayed. So it took me almost 10 weeks to get the bikes from when I ordered them. So a couple of other things came in during that time. We had some extra whiteboards, and one of my members asked if that's what we spent $6,000 on. When's the whiteboards? And I'm like, oh, not quite.
I had taken time off from coaching myself because of having the baby, and I went back the other night, and there was this brand spanking new whiteboard, which I was super pumped about, because when I left, we use Wi-Fi here at the box for Ralston Creek CrossFit. But man, I miss the whiteboard brief. I think every box, regardless of what you use, needs a whiteboard. But anyway, I said to the class, all 3 classes that I coach, I said, a whiteboard is one of those things as a member you don't appreciate until you have to buy one and you realize how expensive whiteboards are. I mean,
they are very expensive.
If you get a good one, you can go to Home Depot and get a shower board and, just have to spray it down and have to use a lot of elbow grease every time you want to erase it. But if you get one of those good whiteboards that erase easy, that's a few $100s. It's,
Yeah. And especially when you're opening, it's an expense that you're like, oh, hello, I did not expect that. I mean, it's more expensive than a television now to get a whiteboard. That is not a joke. I could get probably a 30, 40-inch TV for cheaper than I can get a whiteboard.
Yeah, TV prices are going down. I'm going to start putting my money in whiteboard.com and investing in it. Because it's, hey, the world is always going to need whiteboards. So in addition to, generating new members, and you're in this unique position where we've actually had this conversation a few times. We're like, I can't really take on any new members. So how has that impacted your day-to-day and just your overall mindset when it comes to the box?
So, stepping back into why I don't feel taking on more members is appropriate is because I'm still building that relationship with every single one of them. And as that plate grows, I can only give so much energy towards the person. So I don't want to get to a point where I'm able to not give the energy to all the people that need it. But because I'm there at that point, it's very easy to kind of settle into making sure everyone's having a really good experience at the end of the day. So, I'm not capped yet, but I'm definitely approaching a level where it's like, okay, hey, this is the amount of people I can handle until I create, a couple more processes that allow me to handle more people, such as like the ambassador program. That's going to be a big help in helping get more people involved, because it's going to take a little bit off my plate to make sure my members are always having the best experience possible, because that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, and for those listening, our ambassador program is all about taking some of your best members and almost using them as, I always call them Sherpas for your new signups. Like, hey, I'm going to help you through these first few classes. I'm your Sherpa. I'm your ambassador. It's not that they're coaching, but it's like, hey, show up on time, and we gather around the whiteboard. Then we do a warm up, and that's where the kettlebells are. And here's how you put the people that don't know, hey, you can't have that much weight on one side of the bar and not the other, it's going to tip. Like things that we learned, back in the gym as teenagers, some people never learn. So what is something you use to kind of analyze and just critique yourself on the product you're giving? Because like you said, your goal is, hey, I want to retain these members. That's a big mistake we've discussed earlier on. So many box owners are like new member, new member, new member, where there's that expression of, it's a lot more expensive to get a new member than retain an old member. And we actually teach, outside of these bring a friend weeks and other referral programs, if you can just get 2 or 3 new members a month, but with a very big but, retain everybody else, you're going to grow 36 members this year. So what are some of the things you're doing to always check yourself and say, hey, did I do a good job? Obviously, you can, do an export of your membership base, but what happens on a day-to-day basis?
So on a day-to-day, it's getting out. So especially now, because I've hired another coach to work classes, I will try to at least make an appearance around the time classes are going on, just so members can see I'm still there, so they don't feel like, oh, they're just being abandoned. Because I'm still the captain of the ship, and everyone wants to know, make sure the captain's still driving the ship at the end of the day. So if I don't see them, I usually will try and contact with them within at least a week. So if it's a member I haven't seen in a week, I will reach out maybe via text, maybe via email, just to be like, hey, what's going on? I saw you did really well in class, or hey, I saw you haven't been to class. Just kind of checking in, make sure you're here. So following up with those members to keep them engaged is kind of the crucial part. And I think that's something that they don't expect from a gym, where they're getting that attention.
Well, and I think we had a recent episode about working on versus working in the business, and that's an exceptional demonstration of just that. You still, first of all, something we haven't touched on is you were coaching, what, 80 hours a month when we started?
No, I was coaching 120 hours a month.
Oh, 120 hours a month. And okay, and let's be clear, you've given yourself a pay bump, I'm assuming, right? We've talked about that. You have 35 new members, you've bought new equipment, you're taking vacations, you're taking time off. How many hours are you coaching a month now?
About 50 hours a month, the last 2 months. So February and March are the first time I've ever taught less than 100 classes in a month.
Right. So you've cut your hours working in the business by over half, while growing the business. And I think it's very important for people to recognize that you are probably the best coach at your box. I hope your coaching staff isn't listening, but you've been around a long time.
Well, your level 3. To be fair, I do have my level 3 thanks to Jay, right? So
yeah, I mean, let's be clear. I helped you, prepare for that. You took if anyone listening that wants to prepare for their level 3, check out the coach's development course. But you kind of slid into that level 3, and while doing that, even though you are the best coach, you've pulled yourself off because you can only grow so much as the guy in the business working 120 hours. I mean, that's 30 hours a week of coaching, which in my estimation is really like 60 hours a week of work as far as bandwidth and energy, et cetera. We've talked about that. So now I'm also guessing it's a lot more invigorating, exciting, and fun for you to be on the floor coaching.
Yeah, it is. I noticed I have a lot more energy. I'm able to deliver a much better class. I did that for basically 3 years, coaching 100 plus classes a month. So, and that was early morning classes all the way to late evening classes. And, there's some of those classes where you're just like, all right, I'm here, we're going to get after it. But I think the energy levels have definitely increased for all the coaches, because nobody has to do so many classes in a day that it saps you of not being there. It makes it exciting to work. And that's, really what we want to do is we want to have an environment that encourages the employees to want to be here. Something they're like, yes, I love to do this, because if they want to carry that forward to the members, that energy level is going to be huge.
Yeah, and I would imagine it's helped your personal life as well, your relationship with your wife, your kids, et cetera. Just, whether it's I'm not at the gym as often, which was not necessarily what we're suggesting, but I would also say it's more about just, filling your cup and your energy. You're giving yourself time to do the things you love as a box owner, but also do the things that were the reason you open a box, which is so you can work out and so you can, be of service to other people, all things that's hard to do when you're committing to 120 hours a month of coaching. Because like we've said, 120 hours is not 120 hours. Just time is probably more like 150 by the time you show up early, stay late, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I'm sure there were many days you would go home brain dead from coaching too many hours.
Plenty. And yeah, my wife is significantly happier now that I'm home at least every other week in the evening. So we get to eat dinner together. That's the first time ever. I think so. Like 2 months ago, she's like, "Yeah, this is the first dinner we ever had on like a weeknight at home because we moved into our house basically right as I opened the gym. It's the same exact time. So we had never had a dinner at home because it's always a class going on."
Yeah, I think that's a great feeling. And again, it goes back to something I said earlier. Yes, we want any affiliate that works with us to potentially, increase their gross revenue, but that's not what it's about. I would rather you make the same or even less money, but enjoy showing up. And we've had boxes where it's like, hey, you need to get rid of some members because they're stressing you out and you hate your affiliate. Like, why would you open a business you don't want to be at? Let's get rid of those members, take a short hit in your revenue, but no, if I get rid of those 3 members, it's actually going to wind up getting me more members, because if I don't like them, most of my membership base doesn't like them as well. They're just not willing to tell me that. And then also allow you to spend, and you say every other week because you do a rotating schedule with your staff. So you do a morning week, an evening week, but whether it's that or whether it's, I take off Mondays now, or I, have this day off because my child has gymnastics, whatever it is, that's the true goal. And I think that's what separates Affiliate U from tons of other affiliate not to mention the fact that we only work with CrossFit affiliates. We've turned down plenty of boutique style gyms because we only want to help CrossFits.
Yeah, and I think that's we're slightly biased, you and I, especially because this is how we make our livelihood with CrossFit. But it created the industry. It paved the road for all of this to exist and happen. And it's kind of a shame that so many people have turned away from it when it is so beneficial and crucial and helpful to developing people and just building a better life. Obviously we could speak on that because we have that experience, but I can't tell you how many members that if I could just show them 3 months in advance what they're going to be or how happy their days are going to be, how much they're going to, even they're going to hate the workouts, how much they're going to love coming to the gym and they've never been to the gym in their life, they would sign up before we even had a conversation if I could show them what it looks like in 3 months.
But the cool thing is you don't need to show them because you're doing such a good job with your members. And this is something, I learned from Coach Glassman way back when, and it's, I don't pay for marketing, but I have an army of marketers that do it for me. And I think that's where the disconnect lies for a lot of affiliates. Oh, we're going to teach you how to do Facebook marketing, or we're going to do watered down CrossFit. We're going to do boot camp. We're going to do all these things to get you new crappy members, instead of saying, hey, whether it's 100 like Ryan had or 50 like you may have today, hey, we're going to get you 50 amazing members that won't shut the F up about Classified Fit or your insert affiliate name here. And by a year from now, you're going to have 100 members. Yeah, it's going to take you 12 months, not 3 months. But guess what? If you do it in 3 months, it's like weight loss. It's a matter of time before you gain it back. It's a matter of time before they leave. I've seen it before. When I was in Florida, I was at a box that was turning over these boot camps, and they would just be these terrible members. And they weren't bad people, but they'd be like, what's a thruster again? I'm like, you did this thing yesterday. Like, we've never done it before. No. We did it, during, this workout. You show up once a week. That's why you've not done it. So that's what we want. And again, it goes back to just being fun. That's why I opened my CrossFit to begin with. It was a big rager that I couldn't wait to show up. I didn't have to show up. I just enjoyed it. So let's talk about one more thing, Ryan. You are one of the few affiliates that I have not convinced yet to just buy programming. You still like to spend your time, effort, and energy on writing your own programming. So talk to me about why you do that.
So, reason number one is because I was coaching all the classes essentially, it was essentially my lesson plan. Like I knew, like, okay, when I wrote out the workout, I knew how it was going to run. I knew how long the timelines were going to be. I knew what we needed to warm up. I knew what we needed to cool down. So when I wrote it, it was all ingrained in my head. Like, hey, I know what's coming. I know how this should feel. Now, kind of at a point where I'm not coaching all the classes, the what I look for with my programming is weaknesses. So if we as a member base have a weakness in this area, I can quickly make that transition. And I don't think with buy-in programming, I can make that transition quickly. So, for example, the things that we do, like I have, 80 to 90% of my member base can do a double under because we practice that almost weekly. It's like always programmed. It's like, hey guys, we're only doing 10, 20 double unders in this workout. But and they also I have a ton of members who can do handstand push-ups, more members than I've ever seen, because I've done CrossFit before I opened. That allowed, because I programmed that stuff in to work on those high skill gymnastics in particular orders, that also creates that element of creating those or getting rid of weaknesses. I think the biggest thing with it was when I took my level 2, the challenge was, hey, see how fit you can make your members by doing the one workout a day programming like .com does. And so I've taken that challenge and I've really seen like how creative I can be, because I love it as a creative element. I love the creativity of it. I love trying to figure out how to make little puzzle pieces fit. And for that example, I don't actually like puzzles, but I do love the puzzle pieces of programming to make people better and at the same time make people have a really good class experience. Because there's a big difference between the workouts that Dave programs for the open, which are not fun, everyone hates them, they're not enjoyable, to programming workouts that will make you fitter and are also really fun to do. That's a fine line of knowing your member base as well as figuring out the things they need to get better at.
Yeah, and I'm all for it, for the record. I kind of, go back and forth with you on it because I do recommend for any box, you have a finite amount of time, effort, energy, etc. There's other people. It's one of the few things you can outsource/delegate for a reasonable cost. I mean, .com is free up to, I'm sure some of these programming companies are charging $200, but it's done for you. But I love the reasons you referenced.
And I would agree that I think most gyms, if not almost all of them, should be outsourcing programming, just due to the fact that it is time consuming. It also is something that, as long as the programming is, I would say, CrossFit in nature, then you're going to make it better. There are some programming options out there that aren't necessarily the best. That was one of the reasons I opened my box, was I was doing programming that was not intensity based. It's probably the best way of describing it. So that really took my fitness, diminished it significantly. And so, that's another reason why I might have a little bit of a control over it, because I know, like, hey, that intensity element is so important with it, that I understand it from a athletic point of view, as well as a coaching point of view. So I always tell my athletes, there are 3 people. There's Coach Ryan, there's Programming Ryan, and then there's Athlete Ryan. Coach Ryan just does what Programming Ryan creates, and Athlete Ryan does not want to do what Programming Ryan does, because I know how hard that intensity element is supposed to feel when I write it. So being able to separate 3 different people, that way there's no bias into how I pick workouts when I do them.
For all of those reasons, I love the fact that you do it. And for the record, I don't think a box should just jump to it. If you're a new box owner, I think there is a lot to be gained by doing your own programming, experimenting with it. And this is the one, thing I tell every box owner, whether they're, regardless of who they're purchasing it from, is they don't know your box, they don't know your members, they don't know your equipment, they don't know anything about anything other than this is decent programming. You now, Ryan, because you've put the time, effort, and energy in over the last 4 years, can assess, hey, this looks good, but I would tweak this, or this looks good, but we don't have enough rowers. I think that's a mistake boxes make, is like blindly following programming. And it's like, did you not think, like, we had running in a workout here the other day, and it's like, did you see the snow on the ground? Like, it's cool that these guys in California program running, but here in Colorado it's icy, and granted we wind up changing it, etc. But you need to be aware of that stuff.
And that's kind of one of my holdbacks, I guess you could say, would be if I see something and I need to change it, it was the same amount of energy as if I just written the week's worth of programming. Especially, and that's only because I've gotten to a point where I'm comfortable with it. Like, that's not true. Like, I can think back on the days I'm like, man, I was not good at this, but we still got fitter. That just goes to show you, like, hey, as long as you have that intensity, any workout will make you fitter. But now there's a drastic step up in how those members experience it. I know every single day they're like, that was a good workout. I'm like, I know. Like, I guess they're all good workouts. The difference is which member says it, because they enjoy it differently kind of throughout the week.
Well, let me ask you this then. I have a couple more questions for you. One, give me your best workout you've ever programmed and your worst workout you've ever programmed.
Okay, so the best workout I've ever programmed is it's a birthday workout for one of my members. So he happened to be turning 40 that year. And so we're like, hey, we're going to build this workout for you. It's going to be great. We were 2 months into being open. So it was a brand new workout. And it's a 3 rounds of 9 push press, 13 deadlifts, and then a 77-meter sled push. But the sled push is like 225 pounds for the guys and 155 pounds for the ladies. And 77 meters is a very long ways. They have 3 rounds of it. This workout crushes people. The first round, they're like, all right, this is good. But by the time we get to the second round, people cannot move the sled anymore. They're just destroyed. They're like, legs are barely wobbling back into the gym. And it's become a workout where people are like, oh, we got that coming up. Like, it's like worse than Murph. People are scared of it. They'd rather do Murph than come in and do that workout.
And it must be good enough that you repeat it now.
Yeah, so it's an annual thing we do now every year around his birthday. We do that. So we still have that number.
And what about a workout that you were like, man, when I say worst, not so much as grueling, not so much as hard, but like that escalated quickly?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of one where it's just like that got out of hand. And I think for this kind of part, I had enough experience in the past, because I've been doing CrossFit since 2012. So I've been doing CrossFit for 5 years before I opened my affiliate. I had done enough workouts where it's like, yeah, that's a bad idea. We're going to stay away from that and learn from my mistakes to really avoid that for my members. But a couple of them that ended up being like, oops, I probably shouldn't have done that, were mile runs in the and so like it wasn't the only thing they did, but anything that involved kind of going out for a long mile run or a long run in the summertime when it's dead summer, 105 degrees out, that was a mistake. And that was like, okay, we need to not run that far during that time of the year.
And that's what I was referring to earlier, where it's like, whether it's snow or heat, these people don't know and you need to be willing as the box owner to make a change to that, or like you learned, be smarter about that. All right, last thing I did want to touch upon, another thing you've done really well at the box is you've incorporated a company that we discuss a lot, and that's WillPay. Why did you decide to go with WillPay?
Okay, so WillPay, I knew from day one the credit card companies were going to keep me alive. And so my sole research, because I did research on every single system out there for CrossFit affiliates, and I found the one with the cheapest credit card fees because I knew that going in, when I'm charging people, $150 a month, the credit card companies are always going to take 3% of it. So I tried to find the one with the lowest fee. WillPay created my solution. I've been waiting years for this, for them to exist. They, give those fees to the consumer instead of us as a small business having to deal with that transaction fee. That makes a huge difference in just being able to deliver more to our facility, because we're not like Walmart. We can't just beat all the charges or chargebacks of information. When we make a calculation, you refer to it as member math. That's a decent idea. The members have no idea all the other expenses that we have to pay for, or how much money goes towards taxes. And so it gives when we lose 3%, like, well, I'm already working with 97% of what I thought I was going to have right off the bat. And that's a problem. But WillPay has made it so, it will be, they're, gearing up and continuing to grow, make it so that my calculations will be 100% of what I expected. And that allows me to make better business decisions for how we're going to grow, what we need to do, where we need to focus. And so that's a huge help from them.
Not to mention, some of that's going to charity. It's
Yes.
good for the world. Yeah. So it's great that it's helping the bottom line of the business, and you're no longer just paying these credit card fees that I think a lot of business owners, especially CrossFit owners, don't realize. Hey, that 3% adds up, right? If you're a box that's grossing $100,000, which is not completely unreasonable in a month, that's $3,000. That's a full-time pay right there for a new employee.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out. If you want more information on WillPay, hit us up. We're happy to do that, as well as any information on Affiliate University. I want to remind the listeners, we don't guarantee the same results Ryan had. There's a reason I had Ryan on, but the truth of the matter is I could have anybody on in our group and we would have positive things to discuss and lots of wins, whether it's, like Ryan, 35 new members, or for so many people just taking their first vacation. We've had people that have paid themselves for the first time. We've had people that, like I've said, just enjoy being at their business again. But Brian, if I were going to ask you as we wrap up to make a sales pitch for anyone listening that's a box owner or potentially going to share this with a coach, what would you say is the reason to join Affiliate University?
All right. So it's helped me refocus my efforts back to my current clients as opposed to finding new ones. My clients help me build my clients into amazing people who are the people I want to be around. They're also the clients I want, or they are willing to build or help be a part of the business. So they want to participate in the things that I am doing to help the business grow, and that's really what Affiliate U has helped me with.
I love it. It's helped with retention, but I think, like I've said it before, I'll say it again. I owned a business in around 2012, 13. I did not enjoy being at that business. I'd avoid it. I would, put my time elsewhere. I wasn't trying to grow it. And it was my own fault. I did a lot of little things that Fern and I have discussed on previous episodes. So with Affiliate University, our goal is always to teach you from the lessons we've learned. And that was a big one for me. And I know if you're enjoying your members, you're enjoying your business, it's a matter of time before, as Coach Glassman would say, you chase excellence and money is going to follow. If you chase money, which a lot of these people try, excellence doesn't necessarily follow. So it's very enjoyable for me. Actually, Fern and I talk quite often. And one of the things remind ourselves of is how lucky we are to work with people like you and a lot of our other members, just because it's fun, it's enjoyable. We truly look forward to our conversations and having a great impact on you guys, but also your members and the greater CrossFit community. So thanks for everything you do, Ryan. It's very fun to watch your growth, and I'm just glad you're at a box that's doing well, that allows you to spend time with the family and take vacations.
Yep, I love it, and special thanks to you guys. That's really what it comes down to.
So you never miss an episode of the podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel and on all major podcasting platforms at Best Hour of Their Day. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being a part of the best hour of our day. See you next time.